So I get to the airport. I'm panicking. The waiting game at this point is...
It's too much.
I'm like, do I need to call my psychiatrist and get on like anxiety medications or something?
Yeah.
So I get to the airport and sure enough, my CJO comes through and I'm offered a position and with a training date. And I looked over at these two passengers that were traveling to Greensboro. And I said, Miss, can I share something with you? She's like, yeah. I said, I just got hired by the airline you're flying on today as a flight attendant. And I said, I've been really unhappy for a really long time, and I really think this is going to be the one thing that saves my life. And she started crying.
Welcome to the Layover Podcast. I'm Bree, your host. Today we have my friend Martin with us. Hey, Martin.
Hi there.
Yeah, we were talking the other day, yesterday, and you were telling me that it was one of your anniversaries for applying and getting the job. So I thought it would be a good idea to talk about the application process, like how people get into this, because you might know you want to be a flight attendant, but the barrier to entry is you have to be able to get an interview, and then you have to be able to get through the interview to get a job offer. You did that, so let's talk about it. You want to tell the people anything about yourself first?
Yeah. So I'm super excited to be here. I think it's important for me to talk first about where I was at in my life when I applied to work as a flight attendant. I had just gotten out of a 4-year relationship. It just did not work out. I had a home, I had pets, I had a 9-to-5 job working in the mental health field, and I just was really unhappy. I was really, really unhappy, and I'm just grieving the breakup with my ex-boyfriend and just being really burnt out working in the mental health field. I just got really unhappy and I couldn't figure out what was going on. So before I applied to the airline, I met with my therapist and we just talked a little bit about what was going on in my life at that time. And she asked me, when were you the most happiest in your life? And I said, well, in my 20s, I worked in reservations. I worked as a gate and ticket counter representative. I was a ramp agent, and then I was also a flight attendant for an airline in my hometown, and it just opened up this mindset of oh wow, I forgot about how much I love aviation and how much I love people and how much I love bartending, because that's something that I did in college. And just as a friendly reminder, you're not just a bartender as a flight attendant.
It's part of the job,
It's
though.
a part of the job, but we know safety and security is the number one thing. But there are all these different things that I've done in my life, especially in my 20s, when, as we know, in our 20s, life can just be super hectic and crazy for everyone. But, I worked for the airlines. I was a bartender. My personality was big. I was super extroverted. And it was just this mesh of just funness in my life in my 20s. And I thought, I'm 40 at the time. I was 41, and I'm thinking, there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to go back and do this. I'm 41 years old. Yeah. And I watched a movie called Julie and Julia. And it's...
That's the cooking lady?
The cooking lady. And she was talking about how Julia Child didn't write her first cookbook until she was 51. And I believe her first cooking show came on when she was in her 60s. So I thought, you know what? If Julia Child, this older lady, can, fulfill her dreams after working in government for 30 plus years, do what she loves, I can go back and do this. So I left therapy. I got in my car, I drove to the airport, I watched the airplanes take off, and I just said one of the greatest prayers of all times, like, God, what are you trying to teach me through this? And I'm not a religious person or even a spiritual person. I just felt the need to connect to something, and there was this light that just came down on this Frontier airplane that was at the airport. And I have a picture of it. It's super cool. And I went home, and just thinking strategically, I thought, what airline is close to my house, in terms of base. Smart. And because I don't want to commute. And I applied to the first airline that has a base in my home city, and filled out the application. Within a couple of days, had a video interview, then a face-to-face, and then I was offered a CJO, and then I went to training, did IOE, and now it's been a year. It'll be a year next month. So it's been a wild journey, but I'm so glad I made that decision, and I gave up everything for this job. I took a pay cut. I had to rehome my pets. I had to work through the grief of losing my partner. I had to say no to a lot of people where I used to say yes a lot. Yeah. And it was my time to shine again. And I feel like I'm 20.
Shining.
Yes, okay. And I feel like I'm 21 years old again, just traveling around and meeting people, and I'm living a life beyond my wildest dreams. And you'll meet a lot of flight attendants out there. They'll say, you're crazy. I've been doing this for 30 years. We'll see how you feel in 10 years from now. I still think in 30 years from now, I will still have that new higher attitude.
You found your match.
Yeah, like, this is it. Like,
well, it's interesting because when you first started talking, I'm like, you went through a breakup, you're getting burned out with your job, and I was thinking, is this going to be a jump ship and go be a flight attendant, because it sounds so great story, and I was kind of worried, like, oh dear, but then you had done this before, and you went back and you remembered how happy it made you. So it's interesting to hear that, because it's not like an escape. It sounds like at first I was like, oh, is this his great escape? But it's like, no, it's you making your new life.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because my dear friends, the people most closest to me, said, Martin, wherever you go, there you are.
That's right.
And they said, Martin, you're selling all of your possessions, you're rehoming your cats. I rehome my cats to my partner, so you're getting rid of artwork. They're like, are you having like a mental health crisis? Because as a mental health professional, when people get rid of their belongings, that's sometimes a sign. But, I online on Facebook, I just said, I've been hired by this airline. I start training on this date. I'm moving.
Out of here.
Like, I'm out of here. Like, these are just things. These are just things that can be replaced. And there were so many things. I had so many possessions that were attached to my old life of just disparity and unhappiness. And I didn't want that reminder. I wanted a fresh start. So this, becoming a flight attendant was a strategic plan. It was something that was well thought out. I saved money for this job. I made sure I had all my ducks in a row. It wasn't an impulsive decision. It was really built on prayer and perseverance and faith, because we know this job does not pay a lot. We know loneliness comes with this job. We know it's hard for us to find partnerships in this job, intimacy. And it's because we're gone a lot. We're on the road a lot.
And you were kind of aware of that because you hadn't been a flight attendant before.
Yeah. And I think that's why this job has been so easy for me, is because I have over 7 years of aviation experience, not just as a flight attendant, but working in reservations, ticketing, gate, ramp, and I was a flight attendant previously.
This place.
Yeah, so like this is my happy place. But if you're a person with no aviation experience and this all just sounds so scary and overwhelming, I'm not going to be able to afford, my bills. I've got kids. I just dropped out of college. I have a house. I have a car payment. Right. All these I haves. And they're, things that I looked at as barriers. to getting to where I wanted to be. And there's no other place on this planet where I'm supposed to be than up in the air. Period.
Let's talk about barriers then.
Yeah.
So like you weren't just like, you know what, I'm going to be a flight attendant. You said a prayer and then you were a flight attendant the next day. Were you nervous to apply?
Oh, absolutely. Like there's an old saying, you know, you have to, like oil and water, they're opposite. It's like faith and fear. Yeah. You know, like I had to replace my fear with faith. Like, and again, not in a religious way, but I just had to believe that if this was what was supposed to happen in my life, it would work out. Like the goodness of the world, the universe would rearrange itself for me. Like that's just my mindset.
Yeah.
Before I even applied, so I'm not going to tell people what to do. I'm just going to share my experience. 100%. Yeah. So like, I just had to first abandon every negative thought that I had about the career, the job, the lifestyle, the barriers, everything. And I just had to believe that the first step was just erasing that negative mind. The what ifs, the what ifs. Well, what if I can't do this? What if I can't do that? When I applied, the application was easy for me because I was confident in at least getting a video interview because of my aviation background, my schooling, my experience working in mental health.
I actually found the application was pretty easy too. It's like when I did it was like a 1 or 2 pager. It was just the resume. I was like, is this right?
Yeah. So when it came to my resume, my resume was updated. If you want to have a really sharp resume, use the design tool Canva. There's some really cool templates on there, cool. And you can upload your professional headshot and things like that. So the airline will get a look of what you look like. Because they strive for that professional, clean cut look, right? So I sent my resume to a hiring manager at a company that my friend works for, and she looked over it and she's like, tweak this, tweak that.
Oh, really? Before you applied?
Before I even applied. And I'm so glad I had her do that because she also has some HR aviation experience, not much, but she had some. And my aviation, my previous flight attendant job, there was only one segment on the resume where it talked about safety and security. It talked more about serving beverages.
100%.
And so my entire bullet points for my flight attendant and aviation career in the past focused 100% on safety and security. So if you're a person that does not have aviation experience, let's just say your current or previous job, you were a bartender. Those bullet points should be around sanitation, cleanliness,
situational awareness,
and safety in the restaurant. Making sure that those bullet points are centered around safety and security and the protection of people.
What you're saying is so key because I remember when I first thought about being a flight attendant, I was focused on, I'm going to be dealing with people, customer service. I was customer service heavy.
Right.
My friend who was a flight attendant was like, you got it all wrong. Like, it's a safety-based career. You have to think about what you did to keep people safe and secure, just like what you're saying. So yes, customer service is a part of it, but the safety is.
Yeah. The airline industry is a well-oiled machine. There are so many moving parts. From the time you book that plane ticket until the time you get to your destination, there are safety measures happening at all time. Even when you go to book your plane ticket, they're asking safety-related questions.
Yeah.
So when I did my resume, it was all centered around safety and security. Even my previous jobs, as a counselor at my previous job, I focused more on privacy, confidentiality, things that were going to protect the person, because that's what we do. We protect people. So I sent the resume in. Within 3 days, I got a response inviting me to a video interview. I did the video interview. I wore a 3-piece suit. looked really sharp, got my hair cut. Because
Okay.
all I needed them girl was to say, hey, stand up. And I'm wearing a suit and I'm wearing pajamas underneath, right?
100%.
So I just showed up to that video interview as if I was walking into corporate just to do the interview.
Not mad at you.
Yeah, so answered the 3 questions. It was really important to set the anxiety aside and read all the instructions, because those video interviews can have small detailed segments to them that if you bypass, the computer can freeze, or you may skip a question and it could potentially disqualify you from moving forward in the hiring process. So felt pretty confident after that.
Video interview. Was yours pretty much just like a recorded, like nobody was there with you?
Nobody was there.
Same for me.
Yeah, so it was recorded. I talked really slow. I was prepared to answer questions around safety, security, customer de-escalation. What would you do in this situation?
They ask a lot of those. If this happened, this happened. Yeah.
And I just had to remember safety first, safety first, safety first. Just always remember to, whatever the situation is protecting the passengers. So after that, I believe a week went by, and that waiting game is just, oh my gosh. It's just
checking your email.
Just checking your email, refreshing. But also during this time, I'm thinking, do I start getting rid of my stuff now? Do I start telling my job that I'm leaving? Because I was excited, anxious, and worried. And then I got the email that they were going to invite me to a face-to-face interview. And I remember calling all my friends. I got on Facebook, but I didn't tell people what airline it was with. And my friends who know that I have aviation experience and how much I love aviation, they were just rooting me on, especially my friends that knew that I was going through the breakup and just at a place in my life where I was just really unhappy and the water was just so stagnant. And so I had the date set. And again, I'm just a person who plans ahead, and that's one of the qualities you have to have as a flight attendant, is to plan ahead. If you are a last minute person,
you're gonna struggle.
You're gonna struggle big time. If you're a person that
I'm a last minute person, I had to learn real quick.
If you show up on time, you're late. Like, that's how the airline business works. So I said, I'm gonna fly in the day before. I'm going to get an Airbnb. I got like a $50 Airbnb, rented a room close to the airport. Got in, just got some food, just gathered my thoughts. They asked me to bring certain things like my passport and a copy of my resume. I went and I bought a brand new suit from Target and got it pressed and dry cleaned, got a haircut. I mean, I wanted to look my absolute best. And I got up the next morning and I just had faith that everything is just working out, and I just don't see it falling through the cracks now. So got to the interview. There were probably 30 people there.
Let's talk about that. Because this isn't like you go to the office, people are sitting at a table, they sit you down. This is it's a whole ordeal, an event.
They're watching you like a hawk in the sky. They're looking at everything from your body posture, your facial expressions. Do you smile? Are you engaging? Are you friendly? Do you have a positive attitude? You don't know who's sitting in that hotel as you're waiting in line to interview.
Even on the way over, I think because I had to fly in to get an interview, then we rode a shuttle to where the event was going to be. And, I'm on the shuttle with other people who are also going to the interview. And then there are some people who are kind of, you don't know who they are.
Right.
But the thing is, you don't want to like act as if people are watching you. You kind of just want to do whatever it takes for you to feel confident and prepared, and then go in and be that. Like,
yeah. So like that's something I left out with the video interview, is just to be yourself. Just if you're more introverted and that's just who you are, just be that introverted self. If you got a big personality and you just shine and you light up a room, be that person, because that's who they want to hire.
Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode. We had to split this one into 2 parts just because there's so much to the application process. We did not want you to miss a single bit of it. If you like this episode, don't forget to let us know you liked it, comment, and subscribe. Remember to update your resume with your safety experience. You'll thank us for that later. Tune in next week for part 2 of the application process according to Martin. And remember, sometimes you have to lay over to go further.